think deeply or seek the source of your I consciousness. Do Atma Vichara, but keep working on yourself. This is very important. One instance of his grace to his devotee is his recommendation of 2 sons from Tirupugash to help them get their daughters married. The devotees of Bhagavan believe firmly that it was enough to sing the 2 songs from Tirupugash before Bhagavan to have the marriage arranged in the best way possible. There is another song in Tirupugash in which God is invited to come to the house as a newborn child. When anyone approached Bhagavan praying for a child, he will tell them to sing that song. I stayed at Ramana Nagar, where my house was situated, for 8 years. Those were the most memorable and fruitful years of my life. How sweet they were, and how many miracles happened before my very eyes. Once Dr. Srinivasa Rao was telling Bhagavan how good it would be for him to eat more pineapples. Once Dr. Srinivasa Rao was telling Bhagavan how good it would be for him to eat more pineapples, when somebody entered the hall with a heap of pineapples on a tray. On another occasion, Bhagavan was mentioning one Gajanana Sharma who used to stay with him some years earlier and inquired about his present whereabouts and doings. At that very moment, the postmaster entered the hall, and in the mail there was a letter from Gajanana Sharma with photos and details about his life, ashram, and disciples. Bhagavan said, "Look at this, how wonderful. I was telling about him just now, and here it all comes." On another day, a well-meaning but ignorant devotee insisted that Bhagavan should take the glass of orange juice that he had brought. Bhagavan was annoyed at being treated partially and said, "If you give anything to me without giving it to all, it will be like poison to me." When the devotee said that next time all would give an oranges, Bhagavan said, "What is the use of giving? Because I tell you, you should know this. You should know by this time that they are all myself, and what you are giving, then you are giving me." Bhagavan disapproved of any difference between him and others. Once my sister 5-year-old son was bitten by a snake, and in a desperation, she brought the child to Bhagavan. The doctor had given up hope, and the boy was perspiring profusely and was in great pain. The child was already stiff, with glazed eyes, and was breathing heavily. The mother of the child was weeping all the way and carried him to Bhagavan. When Bhagavan saw her, he said, don't weep, it is nothing." He passed his hand over the child, and within a few minutes, the boy recovered his sense and sat up. They sat in the hall for some time, but as it was late in the evening, the mother was told to take the child home. As she was leaving, she saw a Muslim devotee on the porch in front of Bhagavan Hall, murmuring his prayers. By profession, he was a snake charmer and a snake bite healer. When he saw then, he said, "The boy was dying of a snake bite. But since you were going to see Bhagavan, I kept quiet. Now the child is safe. But the poison is still in his body, and I had better chant some charms to get it out." He chanted some prayers and then asked them to go. Bhagavan has saved the child, but wanted the snake charmer to take the credit. No, del otro lado. Tiene que pegar el micrófono.
The title is A Seeker and is anonymous. This is offered as homage to Sri Ramana and as testimony to the truth that all paths lead to the same peak, and that without grace there is nothing, neither light nor darkness, neither regress nor progress. Grace is all. Born into a non-religious Jewish family, I was raised in a small Protestant town in the southern United States. At 20, I found myself in a university in the Northeast and extremely unhappy. Till then, God had meant nothing to me, but abruptly, things changed. Some higher intelligence began hammering me over the head with the fact of its existence, and by moving me through coincidences in which the whole universe seemed to converge in direct answers to my innermost questions of the moment. That summer, I read an autobiography of a yogi. It electrified me, literally. After reading it, I lay relaxed before sleep, wondering if yoga were to be part of my path. An oscillating sound came to me and raised my mind inwardly. Suddenly, there sounded an incredibly beautiful herald of trumpets, followed by a flash of brilliant light which illuminated my whole being. Needless to say, I took this as a yes to my question, and that fall I took initiation from a disciple of an enlightened Indian yogi. By the next summer, I felt ready to go to India. I wasn't able to leave till autumn. This master, called Baba, lived up to all my expectations and more. He showered his grace upon me. My prayers for greater devotion were being answered. But then something happened which I cannot detail. Here, through his words, actions, and arrangement of my external circumstances, he indicated unmistakably that I was to leave his mission, perhaps never to see him again physically. So I left. Before departing from India, A friend and I visit other ashrams. The message I got was, all paths are one, and the Guru is within, so seek within. I went halfway across the world to find someone to save me, but those capable merely refer me to a mirror. Thus I returned to the States, feeling exalted by a wondrous journey. It was a perfect circle of experience, but also somewhat confused as to how to proceed. I was reading Krishnamurti and trying to be, but I didn't feel comfortable or secure in a practice which said, make no effort. I was praying to Jesus. Shortly after my return, I had met a devotee of Jesus who asked if I had accepted him in my heart. I quickly answered, yes, but upon reflection, I realized that that was untrue. So I was praying very fervently to Jesus that he enter my heart. At the same time, I was praying to my first guru, my guru's first form. I had come to feel that I could be satisfied with nothing less than absolute and eternal realization. I felt almost blasphemous to ask so much, but what else could I ask? So all this was going on, and at the height of it, Baba came to me in a dream. I was sitting before him in darshan with a few others. He asked if I had been practicing a certain mantra. Anxious to plead him, I blurted, yes. He said sternly, no, you haven't, and looked away. I began to weep, my head against his knee. Then something made me look up at him. Smiling, he said simply, yours is the path of the heart. Upon awakening, I thought he might have been referring to the occasional feelings in the center of my chest that were accompanied by practice of trying to be with all things. Or maybe he meant something in reference to my prayer to Jesus. I didn't know, and nothing was made clear. By late spring, I was feeling pretty miserable. No changes, no breakthroughs. Some friends and I attempted to establish a community. Egoism aborted it. I was often on the verge of tears. One weekend, I visited some friends on a farm, people I had met in India. But rather than feeling any satsang, I felt a loneliness, even paranoia, that I thought I had left behind long ago. After 2 days of this misery, I picked up a little pamphlet, Who Am I?, with a picture of the slender young Ramana. By reading it, I was able, at least, to regain my equilibrium. The next night, at a friend's apartment in Montreal, Quebec, I came across the teachings of Bhagavan by Arthur Osborne. By now quite interested, I read parts of it and then tried the sadhana the Maharshi recommended. After 15 or 20 minutes of asking mentally, who am I? And concentrating on the right side of my chest, suddenly, from the depth of my heart, something opened in me, a piercing sensation, followed by a wave of bliss. The bliss passed, and the piercing sensation diminished over the next few days, but the feeling of the heart remained. Since then, it has never left me, though sometimes I leave it for this thought or that, and it remains on the edge of consciousness. Shortly after its advent, I came to see that this is the path of the heart, and that I shall have to find no other forms for my Guru. And then it dawned on me that my prayer to Jesus had been answered. For as it is true that no one other than Sri Ramana vibrates at the core of my being, so also it is no one other than Jesus and no one other than Baba. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Earnest efforts never fail. What else is there to say? Full realization has not dawned, but whether moments or lifetime intervene, it cannot fail to come. Patience and perseverance are necessary, as Bhagavan has said. It may take long years of practice to reach the goal, yet the grace he has bestowed upon me compels me to conclude in a different note. For Bhagavan again says, we are the self, ever and always. And Jesus says, be alert, for you don't know when the bridegroom will arrive. And indeed, young Venkataraman experienced the truth of this later statement most dramatically at the moment of his death and the arrival of the bridegroom Arunachala. So we should be patient and persevering, but we shouldn't give a moment thought to long years ahead. Another such poison. For the thought that you are not realized is the obstacle to realization. If we don't feel we know reality, ever and always, then we must at least feel continuously that its lightning flash is imminent. Such an attitude naturally allows sadhana to become the all-consuming flame it should be, and thus hastens the coming. For, again, as Venkataraman realized, no one walks that final infinite distance to the peak of Arunachala, but rather in a way too inscrutable for the mind to comprehend, and at a speed far too fast for the ego to withstand. One is brought to the heart summit by the mountain itself.